Welcome back to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. I'm Dr. Cheryl Shire, PhD in Financial Management and Business Administration, and I'm a minister. Are you waking up to your mindfulness and wealth consciousness, to your wealth transformation, to stop listening to the negative information about the economy? You make your own economy and wealth. Wealth is not only in hard cash, it is love and all the things that bring you pleasure. Inspiring guest, and her name is Janice Niederhofer. Janice is an internationally acclaimed master communicator, leadership development, and organizational specialist. As a world-renowned negotiator, interrogator, body language expert, she has trained people all over the world, including law enforcement agency at all levels, with a global clientele. She brings her talent and experience to address two key issues facing businesses today.
Guess what? You're going to get to the other side of whatever you're in now. It's inevitable. You will get to the other side. So how are you going to take that? How are you going to ride that train?
And so, you know, in relating to money, it's like we have to change our internal dialogue or the monologue that goes on in our head around money, like saying, you know, I don't have enough, or I can't afford it, or, you know,
money don't grow on trees.
Any of those things. You need to stop saying that completely. You need to stop it and saying, I will have enough money, or I'm getting enough money. You always have to think for the future in that to attract it. See, as you were saying earlier, that energy, money's energy, it's a flow. It's a flow. I mean, you know, Warren Buffett says two things, and I always reference this because it really makes sense. First of all, the most important thing, no matter what, is unconditional love. And I'm always preaching about unconditional love, no matter what. The second one is having no doubt. Now, I've talked to bankers, and they have a hard time with that, the no doubt thing. And it takes discipline. You know, you have to believe in yourself and trust in yourself and have enough self-confidence to not have that doubt.
Okay, so you just said a whole mouthful here. So first of all, what does no doubt mean?
What it means is, I guess, that you need to have no doubt in yourself that you're capable. And if you're not, if you have some question, then you need to go research it. You need to get the info. You need to get educated, so you have what it takes to have no doubt. Mm-hmm. So it's being motivated by getting educated. Mm-hmm. And that to me is a key. That is the key, is education. And that's about everything, really, but especially around your mental discipline and mental thoughts around money. So
for me, to segue on this particular piece of our conversation, what I always teach with people, because they're always getting caught up in the to-dos, okay? Mm-hmm. So in order to have no doubt, you got to know what your target is, right?
Absolutely.
So in law enforcement, we had to be great shots, and I could outshoot almost all the guys, right? So you had to know your target. Mm-hmm. What do you want in life? What is it? So we're talking about money here. What do you want specifically? So if you're doing a small chunk or a big chunk, whatever it is.
And most people think small. Most people do think small.
And that's okay if that's all they're capable of now.
Yeah.
Because guess what? The other thing you said, once they get the small thing and they hit their target, then they'll create more confidence. But here's the deal. Most people get caught up in the to-dos, and they're big, huge speed bumps. Yeah. And you can't get over them with your car. Yeah. You can't even see the target. Know your target and have no doubt you're going to get that target.
Yes.
No matter how much information you don't have about that target. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Then work backward, like you said. Educate, expand, become aware, find a mentor, find a role model, make it happen. Yeah. And as soon as the first roadblock comes up, if you have no doubt about your target, you're going to pass through that disillusionment stage and get to the next one, because you've got to be emotionally connected to that target. If you're not emotionally connected, you are not going to achieve it.
Yeah, that's great information. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's wonderful. To put it in a different perspective, but the same, you know, that's wonderful. Oh.
I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
You said Warren Buffett said two things. The first one was unconditional love. Do people really know what unconditional love is? How would you describe it?
Okay. Well, For me, unconditional love is when you can love yourself, and this is, of course, is loving others, your family, your friends, whomever. Actually, in the Buddhist philosophy, you love everybody the same. But unconditional love to me is when you have no judgment, no criticism. You just love it for the way it is. And I don't want to say, I know some people say for the way it's not, but I like to say for the way we're all evolving. On some level, we're all evolving. So love yourself for where you are in your evolution as a complete whole human being. So unconditionally loving yourself is accepting yourself for who you are, your shortcomings, your wonderful qualities. I know one of my crosses that I've had to bear is impatience. I was the youngest. I got away with murder. And it's taken a long time for me to learn patience. And I think I've done a pretty good job. And of course, if I hadn't had my daughter, I probably wouldn't be where I am, because when you're a parent, you have to basically turn yourself inside out, and you have this rubber band that goes from one side of the planet to the other. So you have to let go of yourself, totally let go of yourself, which I think is good, because to me that's the Buddhism principle too, is letting go of yourself, your feelings, but just knowing, having that love for yourself that you can share with others, and not judging, not criticizing, just accepting.
Right. Now this is a really easy conversation to hear, but really difficult for people to do. And I know you know that. Here's the deal. 99% of every client that I get in front of, or audience, they have no clue what self-love is, or even how to apply it. They can't even define it.
Well, it needs to be from an unconscious level. And this is when I talk in front of groups of people myself, the first thing I'll say is, how many of you, men or women, how many of you write on your mirror, in your bathroom, have it in your car, have it in your kitchen, your refrigerator, wherever that you are in your daily comings and goings, I love myself unconditionally, and leave it there for at least 28 days. I know some people say it takes 21 days to change a habit. I say leave it more than 28 days, because our society doesn't nurture that. So it has to go to an unconscious level. It has to go to a subconscious level.
Here's what I know about unconditional love. It has to start with yourself, and it doesn't mean ego. It doesn't mean I'm egotistic. So I call that genuine confidence.
Yes.
And here's the recipe to that. You have to learn what self-love is. Okay? Self-love is, like you said, loving yourself for who you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, exactly.
Here I am.
Yeah, that's right.
But it doesn't give you an excuse to not pay attention to the ugly and set targets and goals and go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But it's going, you know what? And here's what happens. There's so much magic to loving yourself unconditionally. You no longer feel judged by people, because they'll judge you all day long. It's human nature. They just do it, and it's conditioned by society. It bounces right off.
Yeah.
It has no effect on you.
Yeah.
So
and that's a healthy self-esteem.
Just think what you can do with that in business, in your relationships, and everything else.
Absolutely.
Because now you're in it to win it. You're in it for the right reasons.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
unconditional
Yes.
love,
Yes.
once you get that, you understand it, and you start to implement it, and you own it unconsciously, like you said, Cheryl.
It's got to be on an unconscious
it
level.
has to. You can't think about it anymore.
And that's why we have to, it's almost like it takes discipline, but it's almost brainwashing. I don't like to say that, but
it's not a word I would use, but okay.
I mean, it's brainwashing.
It's reprogramming your imprints.
But we have to keep saying it repetitively, over and over and over and over, until you don't have to think about it. It just becomes a second nature.
And there's other things you can do besides just frosting the cake with I'm saying affirmations and incantations, which is you have to do it. You have to change your language patterns.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the main ingredient is you got to get to the imprints that are causing those limiting beliefs.
Absolutely. The root. You have to get to the root. That's right. So I mean, just for an example for myself, I remember when my father went to Japan for 4 months. He was an engineer with Boeing, and he used to go teach the Navy how to, very raw terms, but how to put together and or how to take apart and put together turbine engines. And my mother, I remember she said to me, and I was about 8, she said, "I hate you." And I was just...
That's an imprint.
Oh my God.
That's a great example of an imprint right
That
there.
was an imprint that I will never forget, but I've forgiven, and I've also let go of it. But it's taken me years to let go of that because my mother, that's my mother.
That's your female role model.
And I'll tell you, it's taken me up until a few years ago to be able to trust women.
Yes, that affects women's relationships so much. So many people, can't understand why women don't get along and they're competitive and all that, which I used to be. Why? Because I had no self-love, no self-esteem, right? I faked it till I made it, right?
Yeah.
But I'd really like for your viewers, there's something, we're talking about imprints all the time. I'd like to expand on that so they understand what it is, and I'd like to use, with your permission, what you just gave us.
Oh yeah, no, sure. I mean, this is what this is about. This is all about helping our viewers, helping us. I'm evolving through this too.
Exactly.
So please be my guest.
So your mother said she hates you. Okay, and you're 8.
Yeah.
All right, that's a little tiny child that's been on this earth 8 years. That's it. And they're still finding themselves, right? And their number one female role model is mom. And mom says, "I hate you."
Yeah.
Oh, your whole world comes crumbling down.
Yeah.
That then stacks the rest of your life in every area of your life. You had a lot of challenges, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I've had. My brother said she's been through hell. I mean, so yeah.
Right.
Lots
and
of
it
challenges.
stemmed from that. Can you believe that? From that one sentence. So your viewers that are parents or are mentoring children or around youngsters at all, watch what you say.
Oh my gosh.
Because it lasts a lifetime.
Oh, it does.
It took 3 years ago for you to finally get it. And that's why I was saying early on, get help so people can discover that imprint and help you realign it.
And it's very important to forgive.
Absolutely.
Forgiveness is a key because, you know what? My mother didn't know any better.
No, absolutely
She hated herself.
She was doing the best she could under the
Yeah,
circumstances.
absolutely. So, release and let go. And I've done some major exercises to forgive that, like 70 times 7.
Yeah, right.
You know that exercise?
Yeah.
I've done it 4 times in my life, which it takes a lot of discipline and concentration to do that, which is forgiving, writing with your right and your left hand, 35 with one and 35 with the other. And I mean, it's a wonderful, it takes a lot of concentration, but it's so freeing once you get through, because
so
you're
that
writing
process
it,
worked for
you're
you?
getting it out. Yeah, it worked for me because I got it out of my body as well, because our bodies remember things.
Right, cell memory, right?
Yeah.
So remember that sometimes it can be just one turn that changes your imprint, or it could be lots of work and discipline like you had to do. But the trick is this: once you know something's wrong, go out and don't give up until it changes. But don't be a junkie thinking that you never arrive.
Oh, no.
I watch people who still searching. I'm like,
yeah, no.
you've
it's
got
just-
it. Okay, now you're just being comfortable here. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Because they're stuck in their story.
No, and that's, life is so precious. We can't get stuck in our stories, because we're losing time, every day. I mean, oh my God, I can't believe it's almost the end of the year already.
Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Right? It's here already.
Yeah, so it's so important to be in the moment and think for the future and let go of the past. I'm talking about the negative past.
Right, but you want to own, like, remember I was saying earlier, you want to take your experiences, you want to make sense out of them, gain the lessons learned to be able to apply them now. So when I speak to people, here's the deal. You'll never hear me tell a story unless it serves a purpose now.
Right.
Whereas a lot of people, myself included, I used to tell a story because I was always in pain and I'm stuck in it, like a hamster cage, right? But now I've healed all of that, right? And now when you tell a story, it's for a purpose to serve someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're not emotionally attached to it.
Absolutely. Oh, thank God.
So you want your past. You don't want to just shut the
No.
door.
And I don't mean that. It's just, but you've got to let go of that emotional attachment to it that's negative.
Absolutely.
I have plenty of wonderful wonderful, positive, past experiences growing up. Like, I had 2 families on both sides where I lived, and I'm still in touch with both of them.
Well, lucky you.
You know, I mean, I have extended families, so, I searched outside. I've got a surrogate mother, so,
That's nice.
unconditional love. That's what it takes for all of us, is unconditional love.
Starting with yourself first.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you have given us a lot of wonderful information. And is there any other suggestions that you can think of that you can give that has spiritual application as far as the wealth goes? I mean, I know wealth covers, not only money, but everything, as I've said, all the pleasures in life, the wealth of relationships. To me, that is a big thing, is having a wealthy relationship that nurtures one another. But if there's anything that you'd like to...
So specifically wealth and spirituality.
Yeah.
Well, I'll complete with this. You have to live for something bigger than you.
Absolutely.
And be in service.
Yeah.
Give. Live in gratitude. Help others. Open the door for somebody, simply. And if you can do more, do more.
Yeah, like if they need a ride somewhere, or if they just need an ear.
Anything.
An ear, so many people just need to be listened to.
And I'll say one last thing. Get out of your own way.
Janice, all this information is wonderful, and oh my gosh, it's plethora of information. I'd like to actually, since we've talked about all this wealth and spirituality and everything, I'd like to hear a story from your DEA experience.
Mm-hmm.
So would you please share with us?
Well, I have a couple stories, but I think, a lot of people want to hear the shooting stories and the danger stories. Those are great. But for tonight, what's coming to me is a simple story that stuck with me my whole life to this day. So I was going undercover to buy some drugs, and it was nighttime. It was pitch black. And the surveillance team was out, and the bad guy was supposed to show up in the parking lot of this grocery store on the side. Have you ever driven on the side of a store and there's kind of nobody back there? Mm-hmm. So the big lights in the parking lot were all out, and there's my undercover car, and here he comes. And he comes up.
Is that the
bad guy?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the bad guy parks, and he comes up, he comes sauntering up, and we did our little, verbal transaction, and I said, well, where's the drugs? In those days, where's the dope? Where's the stuff?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, well, I didn't bring it with me. I said, well, why not? Where is it? Well, I'll go. How am I supposed to know you're going to come back? Really? Are you, you use foul language and stuff to fit in. What? Right. Are you going to come back? How do I trust you coming back? He goes, just a minute, I'll be right back. Scurries off to his car. He comes back with collateral so that I would know that he would come back with the dope.
What was the collateral?
Are you ready?
I don't know.
A 5-year-old little boy, his son.
Oh my God.
And he tossed him in my arms. And I'm like, whoa, and I'm holding this child,
God.
And I look at this child, and I am absolutely floored of the values of this man.
Oh my God, wow.
How long did he know me? 3 minutes?
If that.
And this is a drug deal?
Yeah.
And Cheryl, I have to tell you, there's so many stories in my career that absolutely drive me, that I'm passionate about. I'm driven, right, to serve because of these kinds of stories, right? I have to make a difference. Yeah. I have to get people to take responsibility for their life. If you're not happy, if you're not where you want to be in life, start somewhere by saying, I'm not happy. Where do I go? You've got to have integrity.
In everything.
What's integrity to you? People use that. They paint walls with that word.
Gosh.
What does it mean to you?
Well, I put on my book, integrity.
Great. So what's your definition?
It's doing everything with the highest value that you can possibly, the best value that you can apply to anything. Not just, it's not subjective, it's everything in life. morality. It's just applying all the best values that you can. Don't you think?
So you ask me what's my definition?
Yes, what is your definition?
So interesting, because remember, we're all completely different from
Yes,
each other.
yes,
We're like
absolutely.
fingerprints,
Yeah.
which is wonderful. Embrace that, right? We were talking about no judgment earlier.
Yeah.
You know, don't judge, get curious. I get curious about, you're going to judge right away, too fat, too tall, too smart, too whatever.
So
Boom.
boring.
And then, but it happens.
Yeah, I know.
You do it, right?
Yeah,
And then you go.
But I catch myself.
Exactly. And then
I
you go,
catch myself.
okay, then I get curious right away.
Yeah. Because
Right?
there's always something that's beyond the surface.
Right.
Always.
So that's another topic. Let's get back to integrity real quick. Integrity for me, right, is taking your life by the, right?
Yeah.
Having a backbone. That's
Yeah.
integrity.
Yeah.
Doing the right thing,
Okay. Yeah.
even if nobody's looking,
Yeah.
because it's the
absolutely.
right thing to do.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Period.
Yes.
In anything.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now,
I
do you
totally
ever, do you ever
agree.
screw up?
Yeah.
You ever make a mistake?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, well, so do I, right?
I'm human. You're human.
And for me, that's an easy thing to say, you're human, right? Yes. But guess what? When you make a mistake, what do you do with it? Grab it, go, well, what was a motivator behind that mistake? Was it just
Absolutely.
boom, you didn't have the knowledge, or you did something stupid, you stepped on your paw, right? Or did you make a mistake because you had ego behind it, you wanted to connect, you wanted to have,
Right.
you wanted significance, you wanted more
Yeah.
money, whatever.
And usually there's a core issue to it. Always. I think.
Exactly. So take the mistake, go, what was the driver behind it? What can I learn from it? Who do I need to make up with? What do I need to make it better?
To make it right.
To make it right.
make it
Take
right.
response, because sometimes there is none, because it just has to do with you or
Right,
something.
exactly.
And take care
It's
of
like
business.
one example that I use for integrity with money is don't take things that don't belong to you.
No.
Don't even take the stamp or take a pencil or a pen that doesn't belong to you. If it's given to you, fine. But don't take things that don't belong to you, because that's reverse karma. I mean,
know,
you
that
know,
stuff's
it's
coming
negative.
right out of that karma bucket.
Yeah. So don't do that. Even I've watched. I went shopping one time and I was watching this woman, and she was going in the vegetable department and sampling all, and I don't think that's right. I mean, that's me. I wasn't raised like that.
It's funny you said that, because my friend came over today and we're working on a project. She goes, I was just at Whole Foods, and this guy walked by. He was in his 60s. You'd think he'd know better. Well, I'm judging. I shouldn't be. But he went right by the carrots and grabbed a scoop and shoved it in his mouth.
Now see, to me that's anyway. It's the value system is off. I just don't do that. That's not it with integrity.
Right. So integrity
Anyway.
is a big, cool word.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a huge word.
And it's about doing the best you can every day. And when you step in a pile of crap, do something about it.
And it's also having, it all starts with integrity with yourself.
That's what I'm referring
Now,
to.
like if I'm walking on the street, and this has happened to me, I've seen a $20 bill, and I looked around to see if there was anybody around, and there was no one around, so I picked it up.
Of course. Well, you pick it up anyways and look around and see
Well,
who
yeah,
it is.
and who it hit, and when you're in the grocery store, if someone overpays me, I'm giving the money back, even if it's 7 cents.
Do you look at their face when you give money
Oh,
back?
they're shocked.
Exactly. I love that
But
part.
yeah, because that's integrity, and that's value, So you're like you said, you're filling the karma bank.
It's the good thing to do.
It's really the only
Right,
thing
because
to do.
The big picture for me is you have to be congruent from the inside out.
Absolutely.
Everything begins with you. The buck stops here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And when you're congruent, then you're not incongruent. You're not having to tell lies to yourself and others and live an incongruent life, which starts stacking. And that's called fear, depression, all kinds of stuff, right?
Well, and that ego plays games with your mind. When people are, we could go on and on for a long time on all these little side subjects. But integrity is having a healthy ego, too.
Yes, because ego's a must.
Yeah, a healthy ego.
Make friends with your ego.
Yeah, exactly. I know my shortcoming is being impatient, and I do that mentally. I'm impatient, and I've worked at that. I'm still working on it, But
So your ego, you're gaining something from the impatience, right? So there's a positive intention behind your impatience. What is it?
I want to get something done, or I want to learn something as fast as I can. I mean, that's my motivation. But it's like, well,
Because
no,
if
wait
you
a
don't,
minute.
what happens?
If I don't have patience,
If you don't hurry up, get something done or learn,
well, then it doesn't work.
that's your survival mechanism.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how
But
deep
it
that
does-
goes.
Yeah, yeah. So, but we were talking about brainwashing earlier. And to kind of explain what I mean about that, brainwashing to me is kind of it's not the best terminology or description, but it takes consciousness. It's being aware. It's being aware of your thoughts, and if you can stop long enough. When you have that, everybody has a conversation in their head every day. Even when there's no people around, or if they're not conversing, we have a conversation in our head. So, being mindful of what those thoughts are, that to me is so important. I learned that with the Science of Mind, is listening to what you're saying, because that's what drives. That's what the unconscious stuff that comes out is what drives us until you become conscious and aware. So it takes mental discipline to do that. That's what I meant about brainwashing, is it takes discipline to really pay attention to what you're thinking in every moment. And sometimes you have to just stop what you're doing to really reflect on what you're thinking.